Well, what's up guys, and welcome back to Project Time Garage. I figure on this rainy Sunday, when it's too cold outside to do anything else, maybe we'll get involved in the dashboard of this 521 pickup. Obviously the dashboard has seen better days, and trying to recover one of these things or fix it is a challenge in and of itself. So I figure what we're going to do is we're going to cover it in vinyl to match the motif of these door panels that we did back in a previous episode on this truck. Now, much like vinyl recovering and sewing and things in general, I've never done this. Really the only experience I have is on the door panels and the kick panels of this truck. That's it. So I'm hoping for a passable job at best. You know, I don't think it's going to be a hard project. The hardest thing probably, I think, is going to be to get that dash out of there, because let's face it, I've never pulled one of these dashes. It may be a bear, or it may be, you know, 2 screws and a clip and it falls out in your hands. I don't know. We're going to learn that together. So if you've never taken one of these dashboards out, you're going to get to learn from my mistakes, and I guarantee you there's going to be some of them. As far as fixing the dash first, those cracks and those ugly places in it and all those big, you know, splits, my game plan is to just follow what a lot of people on YouTube have done in the past already. They've kind of laid the groundwork for this. And basically, the game plan is to just cut off the parts that pucker up and get the thing completely and totally flat. Fill in those bad spots with, I'm probably going to use lightweight body filler just to create somewhat of a smooth, you know, texture to it. It doesn't have to be perfect, because I'm going to actually take the dashboard and wrap it in headliner material that's got just a little bit of a foam padding, the same thing that we used on the door panels of this truck, and we'll wrap it in that, and that'll hide a lot of ugly right there. So it won't hide the big, you know, dents and divots, but it'll hide a lot of little imperfections. So I'll do that first, plus it'll give the dash a nice, you know, soft texture to it. Then we'll take the vinyl, we'll lay it out, and I'm going to do a racing stripe right up the middle where the ashtray is, again, to match the door panels, maybe a strip about yay wide in white, and then we'll do the maroon on the other sides, and we'll roll it over and stitch it in the middle, so we'll have those white stitches against that maroon background. Should look pretty good if I can pull it off, and that's going to be the big if. So anyway, without further ado, let's jump into this thing and see if we can learn together how to pull the dashboard out of a 71 Datsun 521 pickup. Should be entertaining. Are you tired of those frustrating canker sores? Well, all you got to do is subscribe to my channel, and all of those canker sores will go away. Click on subscribe. Also, there's a notification bell down there. Click that. You'll get notified when we make new videos, which is every week. So definitely do that. And since this project's not going to do itself, we may as well get started. Okay, I've found a couple of bolts under the dash so far that look to be pretty easy to get to. Let me see if I can show you with the camera. So there's the dash, and we're going to go down underneath, right back here. You'll see a bolt right about there. And there's another one on over that way. And I'm assuming there's a couple more. Those are the first ones that I see. I'm gonna get those pulled out, and we'll see if the dash is loose or wiggly. I'm sure there's gonna be a couple more on the passenger side. Probably will end up having to take the glove box out of it, and I may or may not have to take the instrument cluster out. I don't know, but we've taken that out once before. That was easy. Also, we need to pull these off, being very careful not to damage them because they are in stellar good shape. Try to get it from the top side. Perfect. I'm going to lay these far out of the way. Next, I'm going to remove my key switch to do this, because there's one right here. This is pretty easy to do. The trim ring just unscrews, and you can just push the whole thing out. Make sure you unhook your battery cable before you do that. You may not have to do this, But I'm going to go ahead and pull the instrument cluster out of it, because I think there's at least one bolt or one nut that would be much easier to get to behind it. Plus, I'll be sure of what I'm dealing with. And that's just those two screws on the side. And then this whole thing here will pull straight down and unclip like that. And then as far as other screws go, you have a Phillips right here that actually has a nut on the back of it, so keep that in mind. Actually, it's a nut and a washer and a lock washer, I do believe. Nope, just a Phillips head and a nut. The lock is on the top side. Of course, I just dropped that. All right. And the cluster itself will start to want to slide out now. On the back of the cluster, you have your speedometer that you can just unscrew. And then you have the electrical connection up there. It just pulls free. And that's the cluster out of the truck. Put this somewhere really safe. Okay, now we can see more of what's going on. And it looks like this vent, looks like I can get it down with this, maybe this one nut right here. I don't know. We'll find out. I know one thing, it's got a lot of threads. Yep. So that just comes down pretty easily. I think I'm just going to let that hang there where it's at. What else do we need to pull out? This thing still seems really, really rigid to me. All right, I see another bolt that has to be gotten, or a nut, and you can see it right there. That looks like a screwdriver or a ratchet wrench type affair. Let me grab a ratchet wrench and see if I can spin that off of there and get it out. Well, guys, I've decided I'm going to go ahead and take this parcel tray down, and I'm also going to take my my glove box liner out while I'm at it, just to make things a little easier. For the parcel tray, there's a screw back here in the floor, there's a screw here, and there's a screw and bolt over here, or screw and nut over there. Pretty easy to take down. And we're going to do something with this speaker wire for the radio too. It's really, really long. I don't think, it may be factory, but I can't imagine it being that long from the factory. Maybe it was. So there's our parcel tray. There you go. Dirty, but present. For the glove box, it really just looks like there's a couple of Phillips head screws, maybe, that hold the liner in. I assume that once we get these screws out, we can remove the liner from the bottom, maybe, I don't know. About to find out. These two screws hold the lid check in place, and probably also hold the liner in place. I don't know to be a fact. I'm not your resident Datsun expert. All right. We're getting looser. Not so much. It's all right. Yeah, that loosened it up a good bit. So there's that, and I assume these on the bottom are the only ones holding them. And these probably hold the lid in place as well. These have the big washers on them. try to support all this stuff if I can to keep it from falling and cracking. I gotta believe this is a very, very brittle piece. And it's in pretty nice shape, so I don't wanna rock the boat. Easy does it. Oh yeah, that's gonna work, I think. There we go. And I think I may try to fix this piece here that's broken off while I have it apart. So now that we have that done, we can remove this tube. It has like a metal check up here. Leave that. Idea is I really want to just get this completely out of the truck so I don't break it. And looks like we have another nut right here that holds this defroster in place. Should want to pull this down now. I'm going to fix this while it's out too, where it's broken. See those two bolts right there? Well, that's two more of what we're looking for. There's probably a couple more besides that. And up here in the corner, there's another one. This one's the toughest one for me because I can't see it. I just have to feel for it. But it's on the very, very top. There we go. Now, what do we have? So it looks like we have one right up here. We still have to try to get at the very top. Well, we interrupt this installation to bring you important information. We're going to pull the radio because I've got one bolt back there that is just tough to get to, and generally these radios are pretty easy to remove. It's pretty much just pull the knobs and pull these things off and you're good to go. About a 1/2 inch wrench on these shafts, and usually this is about all that holds the radio in the dash in the first place. Now the cool part about this is while we have it apart, we can actually work on beautifying the radio, cleaning it up and stuff like that, like we did the dash. And the face should pop off. There we go. Hopefully this bezel can pop out now. We'll clean this up a lot too while we're at it. Well, actually that gives me the room I was looking for right there. I guess I can finish taking the radio out as soon as I get the dash cap off of it, huh? Yeah, that will. I'm still fighting the last screw I showed you guys. It is particularly hard to get out. You will almost always drop the lock washers. Luckily, they always go to the same spot. Now, I don't think there's anything else holding this in. Okay, dashboard removal. Ready, fight. So it has bolts in it, studs. That's one thing to keep in mind. Well, you see that stud right there sticking out? There should be one of those on each side, and that's the only thing that's holding this dash from coming out at this point. If they had just used bolts there as opposed to a stud, dash would have already been out of the truck. So we're gonna have to work on that. My solution is to take this and just kind of walk it off of that stud just enough so that I can get it out. There we go. Okay, hopefully this will be dashboard coming out of truck. It is. Good stuff. Well, here's what we have for our dash, cracks and all. The ashtray, we'll go ahead and pull that out and set that aside. Not sure what I'm going to do exactly with this just yet, how I'm going to paint it up or whatever. But what we need to do is we need to get all these metal pieces out of the dash. That's the first step. And it's pretty easy because they're all just held in with these little bendy tabs here. We'll just start with this one. Give them a little bit of relief. And then we'll come back and just bend them up. Just pop out like that. Well, now that we have the dash stripped down, it's time to start worrying about some of these big cracks. And what I'm really worried about is just making sure that they're level. In other words, I don't want any edges sticking up, getting in my way. So I'm going to cut back a good bit on these. And the idea is we want to be able to take a straight edge and sit across there and not have any big pronounced humps, because if we have big bumps, those are going to show up in our final product. So like this right here was a little bit too high, so we're just going to dig it down a little bit and come back and check it again. Okay, those are pretty good. I want to get rid of all of the really big loose stuff that I can. Anywhere there's a big crack, I'm just going to kind of dig like a trench, maybe a big V out. Sun's been really harsh to these things. The next thing we're going to do is I'm going to take a stiff bristle brush and I'm going to dig in these cavities here, these cracks. The idea is I want to dislodge all of the foam that has deteriorated and we'll basically just let go of my filler. So I just want a good substrate underneath for things to stick to. And this will help. All right, in order to fix this dash or make it smooth again, I'm going to just use this Bondo glass filler. And it's kind of like Bondo, but it's got like fibers and hairs in it. And it has just a little bit of give to it. And that's, to me, that's important. It should make a nice smooth repair, and I'll be able to lay my my vinyl over it, and hopefully it won't show imperfections so much. So it's just like Bondo. You basically, you just drop it out on some cardboard, you mix it up, and put some hardener in it, and away you go. All right, I've got some gloves on here, and I'm gonna mix this stuff up thoroughly with my approved Bondo glass mixing apparatus. If you're wondering what this stuff smells like, it's kind of a cross between diethylene and monocrystalline. Totally made those words up, but it smells pretty bad. Now what you want to do is you want to just get way too much of this stuff for your application. And that should be about, just about too much. A little bit of hardener. Mix thoroughly. All right, let's find a crack, start to fill it. In case I forget to mention it, it's actually a little bit cold in the garage today to be using this stuff. Won't care. Now I will probably come back over the top of this with some like Evercoat or something like that, just to you know, just to get that final smooth going on. And the other thing is, I kind of want this to be a little bit too high. I don't want it to be a valley. I'd rather have some to sand off than have to keep applying and applying and applying more coats of the stuff, you know. All right. And if I run out and have to mix more, no worries. These are some pretty big gaps to be filled anyway. Well, this is where we're at. I've got a really thick coat on these spots that had bad divots to them. And I mean, I really tried to pile it up, like right there where there was a deep crack. I just really tried to pile it up the best I could. I have a couple of like little cracks like here that the vents are going to cover, so that's not a big deal. I got underneath also and on the front. It's just going to take a lot of sanding, and then we'll come back with a like a skim coat or something on top of it to try to get it somewhat flat once we have it sanded down. This stuff here will smooth out a lot once it cures. Stuck my finger in it. Doggone it. So anyway, let's see what this is like tomorrow. Okay, well here's where we're at. I have I've sanded this thing down with 80 grit, and at this point I've got a bunch of dips and divots in it. Believe it or not, I really don't care about these little ones because they don't matter. The only time I care about them is if they're on a bend or a place where it breaks over. I do, however, care about ones like this. This is a pretty deep trench. I didn't put enough in there. And I care about this right here because I want this edge, you know, to continue on And when I wrap it in fabric, you're gonna see that dip. So we're gonna start over on this side, and we're gonna find all the places that it's just way too low, like here, 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 here. And I'm just gonna mix up some of this, this glaze. And it's basically like, kind of like Bondo, but it's just really, really thin. It's really not made to take up stuff this big if it were in a bodywork application, but this is not a bodywork application. This is a give me a flat surface to attach some fabric to. So this isn't that. So let's mix up a little bit of this stuff, and we'll get this done. I'm not gonna mix a whole lot of it at a time. It's much warmer out today, so that's gonna help a lot. All right, start with this one right over here. And some here. All these places that are just not pretty. And I'm not looking for perfection on this. It doesn't have to be exactly perfectly 100% level like, you know, like we were gonna paint it. But what it's gotta be is, it's gotta be reasonably good. Well, just figured I would show you. This is the whole thing, pretty well filled. I don't know, I think I'm gonna have to go back over it one more time because I have a huge gaping hole right here that I missed. Like I said, I'll bring it back after I've sanded it down. I'll probably sand it down with 220. They recommend like a 300, 400 type grit paper, but I'm probably gonna go ahead and hit it with a 220 or even maybe a 180 because I don't care about sanding scuffs. I just wanna get it reasonably flat, and that's all. All right, guys, so here is current situation. The dashboard is sanded. It is, all of the major imperfections are taken care of. And I've sculpted the edge some here so that it, you know, kind of looks the same. You know, it keeps the line going. I've taken a straight edge and I've went across all of this stuff to make sure that it's as level as I can make it, to make sure that it doesn't do this. Next thing we're gonna do is look at the headliner material that I intend to use. This is the fabric that I'm gonna put down first. Now, obviously it's not the right color, nobody cares, but this headliner material, you can see it has kind of a foam backing to it. We're gonna glue this to the dashboard, and then we're gonna come back with our vinyl and start making our cover for it. So at the end of the day, our dashboard will have just a tiny bit of a soft plush feel going on for it. And we're all about soft and plush here at the Project Time Garage. Let's see what we need as far as lengths and widths. So my widest point is 55 inches. So I'm going to cut a piece that's 60 inches by, let's see, it has to have plenty of room to tuck under. I'm going to cut it 60 by 16, and that'll give me plenty of room to tuck under and all of that. All right, here we go. So what I'm using to glue this down is Landau top adhesive, and we're going to put it on with just a cheap brush from Hobby Supply store. What I've done here is I have made a mark on my dash that represents the center, and I've folded my fabric roughly in half, so half and half, so that's my center mark. And I've also lined up this cigarette or ashtray opening here so that when I lay this down, I can get it, you know, pretty close to where it goes without, you know, without having it tilted or whatever, because the way this glue works is once you put it down and press it, it's pretty much there, and you end up tearing this fabric up trying to take it off. So I'm going to take my glue, and I'm going to just start gluing or spreading the glue all over the surface of the dash. And I want kind of a lot of this stuff. The good thing about this Landau top adhesive is it's really, really good as far as heat resistance goes, and stands up really well. Not that this truck's ever going to be in the sun ever again, but better than not being good in the sun, I guess, right? Now, we're going to come back and do the exact same thing with the fabric here. Now, this stuff doesn't spread nearly as well on the fabric as it does on the actual dashboard. This stuff kind of soaks it in. All right, it's time to start folding this thing over and putting it down. And the idea here is just to go lightly. Let the glue do the work, because it will do the work. All right, now, well, now that we've got a base stick going on here, I will we'll fold it back over the other way and glue this side down. All right, we're pretty tacky, so let's go ahead and fold this side over like we did the other side. Got our basic dashboard underlayment done. I guess you call it underlayment. So now it's just a matter of cutting out all of the holes and such. And I've learned that you don't go all the way to the ends or to the edges with these. You cut close, and then you stop. And this is another thing that does not have to be exact. Like I said, we're covering this thing. Plus there's going to be an ashtray that sits down inside here anyway, so it doesn't really make any difference. So that's good. All right. I guess the next stage of the game is to worry about our actual vinyl, and this is the scary part. This is where things can go wrong. All right, this is where we're at. I've done some measurement, and I've found the center of the dashboard, and I've marked it, and it's somewhat reasonably straight. The idea is we're going to have a piece of white vinyl across this part. We're going to have a piece of red vinyl on this side of it. A piece of red vinyl on this side of it, making that same kind of look. And then the little ashtray thing will sit in the center here. So really, I guess before I delve into anything major, I'm going to get these three pieces attached into a single flat piece. And in order to do that, we're going to sew it. But before we sew it, we're going to take these edges here, we're going to roll them back so they have that really nifty little bulge like we have on the door panels, and we'll stitch right along this with it rolled over, and it gives it that neat little lip there. So it's a several step process for me because I am completely and totally an amateur at this. What I will do is I will flip this thing over. I'm going to make a line at a 1/2 inch. I'm going to put some glue down, and I'm going to fold this right here back to that 1/2 inch line and press it down nice and firm and make it stay there. I'll do the same with this one, and that'll create both my little ribs, or whatever you want to call those things, pleats or whatever. At that point, I'm going to get them lined up on this piece, and we'll go ahead and glue these two pieces to this piece so they don't move around. And then we'll get out the sewing machine and we'll run our stitches in them. At that point, it should just be a matter of getting this thing straight and put on here and glued down, and you know, the edges worked on. And really, I think the two corners are going to be the only things that I'm really going to have a struggle with. So let me get this thing flipped over, and we'll get these laid over and glued, and that will be one step closer. This is just Taylor's chalk. Found that on Amazon. Find everything on Amazon. Find too much stuff on Amazon. There's that. Do about the same thing with this one. Come in 1 inch. Mark it. Come in 1 inch. Mark it. All right, that's going to be pretty close to what we're looking for. At this point, I need to get some glue out and put it down here. Not going too crazy here. I'm not looking for this to stay stuck forever. I'm just looking for it to just stay put while we get it sewed. That's all. All right, put that aside to dry. Should just be a matter of folding it over to the line. And really, I'm just looking for, you know, very basic, you know, line here. Not looking for anything special. I just want this, I want this line to be somewhat straight and somewhat true. And there it is. This will be the kind of the underside kind of view, what we're going to have going on here. And basically what I'm trying to figure out right now is what the distance, what the gap here is. So if I remove this, the only thing that's going to show is this between here. And that is going to be a little over 6.5 inches. And the reason that matters is there's going to be an ashtray right in the middle of this. So we have to make sure that we are dead on center with that ashtray. What we'll do now is I'll go ahead and drop some glue down on both sides of this. And we'll stick this to this, and that will complete at least that part of it. So let's do that. This is going to be a sticky mess. I definitely shouldn't put anything down under it, should I? Let's take this old piece of headliner material so we don't make such a huge mess here. All right. That has to tack up for a little bit, and then we'll stick that onto it. All right. Now, remembering that I don't want to go too far on this, I want to keep it just about halfway, and I'm just going to have to remember to sew to the outside when that time comes. There's that one. That's gonna be a pain. It's cupped exactly the way I don't want it to be cupped. That's all right, I'll fix it. Okay, we have it put together. See our center line on that. We have a center line on the actual dash. So the thing is going to be now just to get our center lines to match up, so we know we're somewhat straight, somewhat right. All right. Okay. All right. Let me trim some of this excess material off, and I'll show you what the problem is with my edges, or with my corners. Well, here is going to be my issue, because the dash, it wraps around like this, and then underneath it wraps around like this. So it's coming to a point here where I have to do something about this excess here. I'm not really sure what the best way is to handle it. Very little of it actually shows, so there's that. All right, I guess the next thing that we want to do is get these vent holes cut out so we can put the vents back in it. I'm not going to go all the way with these. I'm going to leave them just a little bit too small, and I'm going to come back and trim them later when I get the vents ready to put in. Same with this. I'm not going to go all the way to the edges. I'm just going to go relatively close. The other thing about this is it has a lip that overhangs it some, so it's not going to be the end of the world if we were to accidentally trim it too small. Wouldn't make any difference. Now hopefully we'll put our vents back down in there, and it'll hold all that down a little bit better. So this is where we are with the dash at this point. It's looking pretty good. I despise these ends. They're not good. They're not good at all. 90% of this is hidden anyway, but I don't like this, and I don't know, just don't like that. But it is what it is, and I'm learning. I'm a newbie. All right. So I've got my vents painted up, and I've got my the frame for my ashtray painted up. So I'll get those set back in there, and we'll get ready to stick this dash back in the truck. See what it's going to look like. Let's see about getting some of these metal pieces and parts back in here. See how they're going to fit. I went ahead and decided to paint these black. I tried to paint them some different colors, and nothing really matched well at all. So this is where we're at. Installation is pretty much exactly like the installation, just push down and bend in pretty much. There we go. Well, there's the final product. This is what we're putting back in the truck. Nice, foamy, you know, soft touch type thing. Let's get it back in the truck where it belongs, see what it looks like. Okay, well, let's check this thing out. Definitely not my best work, but certainly not my worst work. Guys, that's going to wrap it up. I appreciate you watching. The dashboard's not perfect, but the truck's not perfect. I think I can overlook those little imperfections. You know, I did it myself, right? What's next on the truck? I think we're going to install those louvers that you can probably already see in the back window there. That just finishes it. So, little sneak peek there. We'll put those in the next episode of this truck. After that's going to be some carpet. You know, I'd like to get something in the floor besides just dirt and debris, and then I think we'll look at maybe getting a seat cover or building a seat cover or something to recover this seat. Aside from that, it's pretty much just drive it. I've already driven it a bunch. A lot of times on pretty Saturdays, I just get out and run my errands in it. You know, take some trash off, or you know, go see my friends or stuff like that. And it's really been a lot of fun. The truck gets a lot of conversation everywhere we go. We stop and talk to people, and everybody wants to know, what is it? What year is it? You know, what have I done to it? And all that. So it's a lot of fun. Anyway, guys, you know the routine. I appreciate you watching. You know, don't forget to tell your friends about us and like, share, and subscribe, and all that junk. Guys, I'll see you next time.